Good morning.
Morning.
I am here actually for two purposes today. The first being the approval of the absentee ballots that I had provided to the board earlier. I'm requesting approval of those absentee ballots for the general election that takes place on Tuesday, November 6th.
I will make a motion. I do have a question.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'm wrong, but is this the first time we've had English and Spanish on the same ballot?
Yes, and that actually corresponds with my second request, which I'm more than happy to explain that now. One of the items that
we have a motion on the floor.
Oh, sorry. Don't want to.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. So the motion on the floor is to approve the absentee ballot. So
If you want to hear the explanation and discussion, you can do that.
yeah, we can do that. Now we have a motion on the floor. Yes. So go ahead.
Okay.
With
Sorry.
the explanation.
Sure. The change is, yes, previously we always had a separate English and a separate Spanish ballot. With this, we are now looking at possibly scanning the ballot, and as part of the ability to be able to scan, as you can see, the scan marks on this ballot is that you have the combination of the English and Spanish all in one ballot. So that's the change, which was going to be my next request once this discussion is done regarding the scanning of ballots.
So you're talking about scanning for counting, not to post it for people to view or anything like that?
This will be the ballot that we have, so this is what would be posted for them to view, to be able to see. This is the actual absentee ballot. No, there's no separation of English and Spanish. It's now all together.
Now my question is the purpose, when you say scan, what is the purpose of the scan? For people to be informed about what's going to be on the ballot, or is this the one that gets scanned for counting?
Scanned, so
For counting.
For counting.
For counting, yes.
For counting,
For
okay.
Sorry if I wasn't understanding that.
All right. We have a motion on the floor to approve the absentee ballot as presented by our election director. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the absentee ballot indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Michael, the ballot is approved.
My next request, going into the scanning, is that we had the opportunity to lease for zero cost to the county 3 scanners by our current vendor, ES&S, that would allow us to scan absentee ballots on election night, as opposed to the current procedure, which is a hand count. So basically the way it would work is, the change is mostly on the back end. We would still send our absentee ballots to every precinct on election day, because right now Pennsylvania law has that if someone is in the Commonwealth and they had put that they were going to not be in the Commonwealth for work or whatever reason, they are required to present themselves at the polling location and void their absentee ballot. So that's why we have to have the absentee ballots at each precinct, for the opportunity for those to be voided. The change in procedure that I'm asking for is that we would still send those ballots to each precinct. At the end of the close of polls, the election workers would still open those, and they would separate them, because obviously we do not want to know who and how anybody has voted, so that procedure would stay in place. But instead of counting them at the precincts, I'm asking for them just to be returned to my office at the end of the night, along with the normal election returns that the judge brings back, and that we would then scan them in my office on election night. And that's why we have the scan on the ballot at this point. And that would allow us to actually have results of absentee ballots on election night, instead of usually a day or so later, because at the current procedure, with the way that they are hand counted, we don't have time to review those on election night. That's something we start doing during the computation week. And what we have found is that the hand count has brought up several issues, as far as sometimes they're not being counted at all. And so my staff is having to go back, collect those ballots, recount them. Or that we're finding sometimes that the counts and the tally sheets aren't done, so then obviously we have to count them. Or we notice a glaring error on the tally sheets, because we review the tally sheets with the ballots we have, and we're having to recount those anyway. So I have never been a fan of the hand count, just because of those issues and the fact that we've been having issues trying to get those counted correctly and back to us correctly. I would say about half of our precincts we're having to look at or recount every election. I think this scanning will solve that problem. Plus, one of the bonuses here is that when we look at a new voting system in the future, that is something that will help our staff get used to the fact that we'll be scanning these ballots, because that's how most likely it will occur in a new voting system.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
I do have a question. I don't understand, is it part of the law? Why would we send them to the polls rather than retaining them here and just giving them a list of who has submitted absentee ballots so they could cross off and inform you just of the name, and then the ballot could be pulled here?
Yeah, believe me, I would have loved to do that,
Yeah.
but the issue is the law is very specific that I have to send them to the location so
Okay.
the ballot is voided.
All right, it just seemed like
Yes.
would be a lot less work if you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, because then we could actually start,
'Cause then the
couldn't even
election
start
board will
counting
open
because
up.
you don't know which
Yeah.
ones would come back, which ones wouldn't, so that's why we have to wait. And the election code is very specific about having to have them voided there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, can I have a motion to give Michael permission to accept those three
Providing
scanners?
it's at zero cost
Zero
and no
cost.
future obligation.
No future, yeah,
I
that lease
would
expires
make
in
that
2019.
motion to allow the use of 3 scanners to count absentee ballots at the coming election.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to procure those scanners for scanning absentee ballots. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Anything else?
Any questions for me?
And-
I would like on the record, if you wouldn't mind, just to give a couple of important dates coming up with the absentee ballot deadlines. And first of all, the first date that's coming up is the last date to register to vote before the November election is October 9th. That is a Tuesday. The last day to apply for a civilian absentee ballot is October 30th. So that's 1 week before the general election. And then the last day for us to receive that voted absentee ballot is Friday, November 2nd at 5 p.m.
Okay.
And I would like to remind everybody that with the turnaround with the mail system, to please, if you think you need to vote by absentee ballot, please do that sooner than later, so we make sure that we have your ballot.
Or hand carry them into you.
Absolutely, they can, once the ballots are already, they can even actually come in, fill out the application and vote while they're in the office. They can actually take care of it all there if they want.
Okay, with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn the Board of Elections?
So moved.
Second?
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.